ready for phase one?
And what's going on, NPBL enthusiasts? It's Excessive here with Ivan, coming with a Team Stealth Rocks, Team Rapid Spin collab for a fun project that me and Ivan have been working on for quite a while and hyping up. How you doing, Ivan?
I'm doing all right, Excessive.
Doing all right. So, we'll jump right into this. Try to keep the video reasonable length. There's a lot of stuff to cover, but overall, me and Ivan have been working on this. It was kind of inspired. The idea was originally based off of Shaman and Ivan's stats corner, the Team Rapid Spin stats corner. Like, I was really inspired by that, so me and Ivan kind of got together, talked about some things we'd like to record, and then we looked into all the data we collect on the dock and via replays. We kind of try to quantify a lot of that. So, without further ado here, let's get started. Alright, so we're calling this Stat Attack, me and Ivan's collab adventure. And so what we're looking at today is seasons 1 through 9. We looked at 18 different teams and franchises. It came to around a total of 616 games, give or take a few, missing replays, broken links, forfeits. We then kind of limited the data we looked at based on teams that had, 2 seasons plus worth of activity. We've had some coaches that have been one and done, some subs here and there. So we decided to kind of remove some of that data to give us a better picture of, the consistent coaches who have been here for a long time. So the data is kind of more accurate, or has a better sample size. Coaches like Bren, for example, were here for 1.5 seasons, and his data would kind of be skewed because he'd have around 30 less games of data compared to some of the coaches have hundreds of games of data. Probably close to like 60 games worth of data. How did we collect the data? We did some of it by hand, and we used a website called Pokemon Draft League online replay analysis. I even can kind of fill in a little bit of that website and how it works as we kind of progress through the video here. And stats we collected, and we kind of came up with a few categories we wanted to look at. So go ahead and talk about the categories we looked at and how we collected that data, Ivan.
All right, so the first few categories we looked at, we did not have to use the website for, just very simple. Game length, first kill, and win rate. Very easy to pull that from the replay data itself. Same with switches. But when it came to damage dealt, it was very easy to use the website just to extract that value. So...
And we'll talk about damage dealt later on, kind of trying how it quantifies damage dealt. We'll get into that maybe as we cover that, but it was interesting. The website also was really helpful for switches, just because it recorded every time you switches.
That is true.
For the record, from your understanding, U-turn, volt switch, baton pass, things of those nature, are those counted as switches by the data, the website?
Those do count as switches, and also a death also counts as a switch. Once you switch in the next Pokemon, that would also count as a switch.
Perfect. So
yeah,
perfect.
just to clarify.
You can't have 0 switches in a game. Bare minimum, you should have 6. All right.
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So
if you lose, at least.
There you go. Let's move on here. Try to keep this going here. So.
Yep. All right. I'll take the lead on the game length.
All right. Game length's pulled up.
So, immediately looking at this, you can see Callie right at the top at 39.43 and Grocco at 18.24, way at the bottom. 2 very significant outliers there. And looking at Grocco, again, 6 below the next person and 11 below the average for the league, over 11 below the average for the league, which is just ridiculous. And if you look at his stats a little bit more in depth, you can see, and Grocco's been in this league for a long time, 5 seasons and half of the 6th season. His longest game, 33 turns. He's remarkably consistent when it comes to these short games, and he's very consistent with that offensive play style. He just keeps at it.
I 100% agree with that.
Callie the opposite, with 39, 5 above the next person, and 10 above the average. These are 2 of the most remarkable outliers we've seen in any statistic looking at this. Callie and Grocco, just polar opposites when it comes to this.
Yeah, very, very interesting. League average coming in at 29.4. So, the average game is taking just around 29 turns a game. So some teams right around the middle, Texas, Lincoln, Detroit, all sitting like pretty close to average. And again, the outliers, Kelly and Greco. Greco extremely fast, like 18.24. Like, just think about how much faster that is than like the average game. And you look at Kelly with almost just under 40 turns per game. Like, when you play Kelly, you're pretty much signing up for 49 turns. There's obviously exceptions to the rule. Games are different, but this is on average. Another one that kind of stood out to me was Seattle.
Yeah, I was very surprised to see him that high. You think of Lando as a pretty offensive player, but I guess switching around, not actually hitting for very much damage with those U-turns leads to longer games.
I tend to agree with you on that one. I mean, I think, giving you a sneak peek, I think average damage, Lando's, averages just almost at league average and damage dealt. But yeah, maybe that leads to just he U-turns a lot, doesn't do a ton of effective damage, and maybe that leads to prolonged games. But yeah, really interesting data. Anything else you want to kind of cover? I think we have a graph coming up, if I'm correct. Let's take a quick.
We do have a graph coming up.
All right.
Yeah, let's
this is the Ivan special. Here's our graph right here.
And so, yeah, we can see in this graph, it's unimodal, and as we can see, it is skewed right. So there's a lot of higher game length. So there are games, at 111 turns, 108 turns, 105 turns. There are all these games that are shifting the average a little bit higher than it might be if there were a more normal distribution. And that means that the average we got below, the 29.43 that we saw on the other slide, is not exactly representative of what your typical game is going to look like. It might be around 26, 27 turns. That might be closer to the median. And as we can see, the mode game length is actually around like 20, 21. So there are a lot more shorter games, perhaps, than the average suggests. Your typical game length might actually be around 27. Something around there.
Do you know off the top of your head who are we coined a term for our games, and you've been dropping some of this hot data in the Discord channel. Our 100 game club, like who's the coaches that have been involved in those 100 plus turn games?
All right, well, Adam has 2 appearances in the 100 plus turn game club. One against Shay in season 4, which lasted 105 turns, and then another one against Atlas in season 3 that lasted 108 turns. But the one that takes the cake is me versus Callie back in season 8 with 111 turns, and it makes sense. We're talking about 2 of the most notoriously stally players in the league. My average game length doesn't really reflect that, but that's because I was really terrible my first 3 seasons. If you look at just season 5 and beyond, then I average 37 turns per game, which is actually closer to Callie than any other player.
Yeah, well maybe that'd be a good thing we can cover maybe midway through here. We can talk about some of we took your data and kind of almost chopped it into 2 separate blocks to show your renaissance as a player. But yeah, 100 turn club. Did we get another 100 turn game recently?
Yeah, we had one. Season 9, we did have one. It was with Lando and...
I don't think we added that one to this data, to be fair.
Yeah, we did not, but it was with Lando. It was exactly 100 from what I remember.
Yeah, so there's another 100 turn club. So
congratulations,
congratulations, boys! You're known for click and recover a lot. All right.
Oh yeah, it was Lando versus Shane. Yep.
Shane, I did not see that. It was Vaporeon, if I remember. But yeah, interesting stuff for sure. Kind of seeing a wide distribution, as Ivan said, like. The average games are, 20 turns, 20 to 25 turns, somewhere between there. But we do have some outliers, some coaches who do drag the length out. It's interesting to look at, maybe not relevant in terms of anything else. Maybe that's what we're trying to quantify here. All right, we're going to move on to first kill here. So this is data that kind of got me, one of the first things that really, when I reached out to Ivan, what I like to talk about was, in baseball and football and traditional sports, you have all these, different stats and advanced stats that look at, first pitch strikes, getting behind the count, so on and so forth, and how that translates to success or not success at these, major league levels. So in my head, I had this big, in my mind, a big brain moment. I was like, does getting the first kill affect, the win rate for the coach, for the player? So, we went through and looked at every single replay of every single NPBL game, and we charted down who got the first kill, the total first kills, and how often, per game was that coach getting the first kill. So, for example, here on the left side, we have the most kills, first kills overall is your boy Ivan yourself, leads the league all time with 64 first kills. So, I believe you were around 9 seasons in the league, so that means 64 total first kills. So we average that out. You still come in second place in that percentage. So Ivan gets the first kill a high percentage slot amount of the time. So does Joe.
And you're right up there.
Joe leading the league with almost
62.
Joe with 69, nice, and then me 62. The 3 coaches above 60. Joe only 2 seasons in the league. We did include him because he's an active coach, but again, high first kill percentage. Does that translate to any success here? So looking at this first kill totals, nothing really stands out to me. With this data. To give it some more context, we actually then took first kill percentage and tried to look at that and add it to win rate. First kill win rate to your overall win rate. And this is where the data kind of really pops out. For example, myself, Detroit, when I get the first kill, that translates to an 87% of the time I'm winning that game. Correlate that to my actual win rate, 77.3. Lando maybe being the one standout looking at from all this data, the one standout, I think Lando was probably the biggest one to me. When he gets the first kill, 86%, almost 87% of the time, he is winning the game. Then his actual win rate is much, much closer to 50%, 55.8. So yeah, very interesting data here to me. We quantified all this, looking at it, I guess it wasn't a surprise to me is that and I'm doing air quotes here, the good coaches or coaches with successfully high win rates tend to get first kills more often. There's no major outliers besides that. Anything you kind of want to add to this, Ivan?
I would say there's one other significant coach, and I think that is Gumi. A 25% win rate in his typical matches, but it jumps up to 46.88, nearly 50%. When he actually gets that first kill. So that is a pretty significant boost.
Very good point. Very good point. I mean, almost a 20 plus change in your win rate here. So yeah, nothing else really, stands out to me. Pittsburgh, for example, 77 to 61. Like, if you're a good coach, do you tend to get more first kills and you just tend to win more of your games? I don't really, off the top of my head, remember seeing I guess you're an example. No, you're not even either.
There is one example, and that is Daddy, who has a typical first kill, typical win rate of 26.67, but that drops to 25 with the first kill.
He tends to win less when he gets the first kill. Again, I think we only had 2 seasons worth of data on Daddy, so kind of maybe a statistical anomaly. Yeah, another good one. Good one here. So I think that's probably enough to say with first kill. Nothing really popped out to me in this one, but yeah, win rate. Good coaches tend to get first kill more often and close the game out. Win rate itself, we have league average should come around 50 because we all play each other. Obviously, some games were excluded and some coaches were excluded, so that's why it skews below 50. But yeah, interesting. Let's give your win rate some context. So kind of fill us in I think we're cutting, is it season 5 or season 4 when we made the cut for dropping some of your data?
We made the cut at season 4, so just season 5 and beyond.
Okay.
And my average game length, as I said before, was 37 turns, which is just 2 below Callie and 3 above the next person. So I'm a pretty stally guy. My first kill percentage is 77.55%, which is up from the 64% I think it was before. And my first kill win rate is comparable to other coaches like Excessive, like Lando at 84%. And my win rate, which is higher than everyone else's, at 81%.
81%. Oh, that is disgusting. But it is kind of interesting putting everything in context. Obviously, we wanted to include the entire data we had of you. We couldn't cherry pick it, but there was definitely like a all of a sudden you were like, I think I'm going to take this game seriously now. So, and you've seen results putting up. So the win rate for Ivan at 55%. That's with 4 seasons worth of being 1 or 2 win teams, and since then taking care of business. Yeah, I guess looking at this chart right now, the only other really surprising one, you're going to hear this name a lot, Greco. First kill win rate, 50% of the time. It's a coin flip if he wins the game. If he gets the first kill, If he doesn't get that first kill, he's losing momentum, and he comes in at 32. So yeah, Greco makes some eye-popping stats, man. It's good. Let's move on here. Switches. So you can take the lead on this one, Ivan, and we'll go from here.
All right, so switches. As we can see, Callie leading at 14.62 turns per game, switches per game, and then Lando right behind him at 14.38. So immediately we can see there's a strong correlation between switches per game and game length, and that makes sense. If you're switching, you're not doing damage, you're not making any headway towards getting that game over with. And as we can see, Greco down at the bottom at 6.28.
6.28.
Which is just ridiculous, because keep in mind, if all of your Pokemon die, that's 6 switches right off the bat right there. So he very rarely switches, if at all, in some of his games. And,
God, it's the best.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, average 11.34. So your average teams when it comes to switches, Lincoln Lanterns, Texas again, TP. Shout out to TP, legacy coach, was involved for a long time. Myself being slightly below average was kind of surprising, but I think we can put that in context later on during the game. But yeah, go ahead and talk about the anomaly that is Lando here.
Yeah, Lando, incredible with the percentage of turns switched, 4% above anyone else, and yeah, that makes sense. He's the U-turn, Volt turn master, and that's what he does. 45.96. That's honestly ridiculous.
Almost
nearly half of the time.
Exactly, almost 50% of the time, Lando is piecing out.
And he averages long games too, which means that you can't attribute most of that to him just dying. It's really just him switching a lot.
A ton. 38.66 being league average for turns per switch. So if you try to quantify that, for every 10 turns, someone's switching between 3 to 4 times, closer to 4. League average teams, yourself, Ivan, Poggers Patrol with Shane, it puts in a lot of context that how often how often Lando is switching. It's almost a standout that how often he is getting out on the game. It's just a really surprise. Anything else really stand out in switches? Or do you want to move on to your graphs?
It's really something that doesn't vary very significantly, at least the percentage of turns switched. But Lando, again, he's 4 points. He's almost 5 above the next player, and the rest of them vary by around 3 to 4 from the mean, which is, just incredible. He's in a league of his own.
His playstyle is very defined. Moving on, so here's a switch versus game length, so Ivan, take the lead on this one.
And yeah, this is just affirming what I was saying before. We can see that there's this correlation between the number of times you're switching, you're not doing damage, and your typical game length. So more switches means generally your games are going to be longer, and vice versa.
All right, and I think we have one more right here. Switches in game by frequency.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, this is basically just a normal curve, or about as close as you can get. It's a little bit skewed right, and that makes sense. There's no way to get a lower than 0 number of switches in a game. So that's about as close to normal as you're going to get when it comes to these Pokemon statistics, and that makes sense. Yeah, not something that super stands out.
Perfect. Damage dealt. So trying to quantify a lot of this stuff, we moved on to damage dealt. So we took a couple different looks at this just to make it interesting. Average damage dealt per game, and this is where we're going to have to take some time and explain how the website kind of quantified damage dealt. So, and Ivan, feel free to jump in here and correct me. From my understanding of how it deemed damage dealt, every Pokemon was giving a 0 to 100, I wouldn't say HP, but percentage points worth of HP. So to successfully win a game, if you were just not doing anything, no lefters, no recovery, just attacking something in front of you, to win a game, you would have to do 600 damage. Would that be a appropriate?
Yes, that's appropriate.
That? Okay, so
that's generally appropriate, but there are things like, say, Flare Blitz recoil, Life Void or recoil that is not attributing to your damage count that can make you let you win a game with, say, 550 damage dealt, something like that.
Perfect. So to kind of simplify it, to win a game, you have to do 600 damage. So when you see some of these coaches doing over 600 damage, that means, so for example, we'll look at Joe, 671. That means for all intents and purposes, Joe is having to, in quotes, kill 6 3/4 of a Pokemon. Would that be fair?
That would be fair.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's how this website worked. So that's not taking into account how fat these Pokemon are, their defensive investment, their HP stats, nothing about that. A Pokemon that has, 1 base HP, 1 base defense, and 1 special defense, if it gets 1 shot, is the same as a Pokemon that has 100 in each category that gets 1 shot. Those are treated the same for percentage damage dealt. So with that context, let's look at some coaches here. So average damage dealt, Joe, man. Joe is the newcomer to the league, really making a statement. 671 average damage dealt per game. He doesn't care about you stall players or your bulky offense. He's come to get you. He's averaging just under 7 Pokemon worth of damage per game. Kelly, also super high up there, and I have some thoughts about why that is, and I'm sure Ivan can give some context to that as well. Myself and Adam coming in. So looking at the average here, 568, you can see kind of a nice cutoff from like pretty much below 568. You're going to have coaches that have had lower win rates or are lower win-loss records than coaches at the higher end. Obviously, you're exception to the rule, but we've kind of put that into context via your prevalence since season 5 on. So we looked at this average damage dealt per turn, and I was interested. I saw this, and I was like, that can't be like, that feels weird to me. Like, why is, not weird, but Kelly's super high up on here, so why is that? So then we also looked at average damage, damage per turn. So we looked at how much damage you do per game, and then the length of your game. And that's how we came up with your damage per turn stat. And this is where your boy Greco shines out again.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much every turn Greco's in, he's doing as much damage as he possibly can. 25.44. The other people in the 20 plus club, Joe, myself, Gumi, TP, Mikey, who's no longer here, Marv, all these coaches are in the 20 plus club, slightly above league average, which is 19.72. And then you have people towards the bottom, like you like to talk about. You have Kelly, you have yourself, averaging below league average, 19.72, with pretty low damage per turn numbers. So this pretty much comes out to, when you're doing something in Pokemon, how not proactive is probably not the right word, but are you attacking? Are you clicking recover? How effective you are with your turn in terms of the damage numbers. So kind of put that into context for us, and if you have anything else to add to this, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just incredible how the great sort of X that Callie and Graco make there, with Callie with the excellent high damage and the very, very low damage per turn, and then Graco with the opposite, with the very low damage but the high damage per turn. Just opposing play styles, super different. Stall versus hyper offense.
So, effectively, like if you look at someone like Texas and myself, we average a lot of damage, not only overall but per turn. Kelly has been just as successful while having low damage per turn. Yourself is included, even though, again, you come out very close to the average per damage per dealt, but that's more to do with your length in the season. So yeah, really interesting, kind of showing effective use of turns, difference in play styles. If you wanted to coin stuff, you have, Greco being hyper offensive, Kelly being more stall oriented. I would put me and Joe, again, I haven't played Joe a ton, this is the first thing I've played him, being more kind of bulky offense, slightly skewing towards offensive bulky offense. Yourself, and you can look at maybe like a team like Pittsburgh, coached by Adam, or when Shy Crow was here, a true bulky offense that's like doing damage, but is also taking time to recover and shrug stuff off. Do you want to add anything else to here? Or do you want to kind of move on to the graphs?
Yeah, I would say Adam is basically the quintessential bulky offense player on our team, and that's reflective here. He's got a slightly lower than average damage per turn and he's had some great success. 4th in damage dealt average.
Damage dealt, really near league average in damage per turn. I think he came in around 4th in average game length. So yeah, I would completely agree. Kind of definitely if you want the model bulky offensive player in the NPBL, Adam's probably the team to look at. Again, we always like to make fun of him for being a stall player, and maybe some seasons that was more true than others, but like he skews much more towards the middle compared to the other coaches.
And as we'll see later, he has a very wide range of games. He's had a 108-turn game, and he's had a 10-turn game. So he's really just going all across the range of game lengths.
He's an enigma for sure.
Yep.
All right, we have a graph here coming up, damage by frequency.
Yeah, and as we can see, there's a super distinctive mode there at around 600. That's just games where they were finished 600 damage down, no leftovers, no life orb, nothing skewing that. And then we see a drop off on either side with the ranging losing damage dealt and the ranging winning damage dealt. So pretty standard stuff, very focused around that 600 mark. And then, yeah, just decreasing in both sides from there. Yep.
While we're on the subject, entry hazards, sand, do you know how that would calculate in a damage dealt?
Yeah, they do count. Okay. So toxic, burn, damage from sand, damage from entry hazards, they all contribute to the damage dealt. Yep.
Okay.
But if it's your own item that's doing it, let's say you have a toxic orb, that would not contribute to that.
Like a guts boosted Pokemon, a move with recoil, things along those moves. All right, and then looking at here at the frequency, like we did not. I wish we would have before this, but to me, the if we have the 100 game club, we could have possibly looked at the 1,000+ damage club. We've had some games either via length or the stupid ridiculousness, bulkiness of the other team has caused some coaches to literally have to kill 6 Pokemon plus 4 others on top of that. One that stands out to me to make fun of myself was the Season 2 finals between myself and Lando, where Lando was victorious. Just to put into context here, he had to deal 1,457 damage to me to win that game. Like, that's how, I think I had a Regenerator Core with that team plus Melodic, so my team was just very fat, was super fat. So not necessarily stally, it fit the more play style of I was pretty good at doing damage per turn. But again, just the fatness for us. And Lando had to cut through almost, 8 Pokemon worth of, 14 Pokemon? 9 Pokemon? 600?
Essentially.
Yeah, essentially he had to kill so many extra Pokemon for that. It's kind of a cool stat. And we've had a lot of those. I believe Adam's been in the 1,000 damage clubs a few times. So yeah, it's something interesting. Maybe we'll post that stat later, but it is interesting. These super long games where coaches have to physically this kill. Do you know, is that game to the very far right? It seems to be above 1,600 damage dealt. Do you know what that game was off the top of your head?
That game, I believe, was Adam versus Atlas.
Oh my gosh.
Season 3.
I don't remember that. I do not remember that game. I'm going to have to watch it after this. Season 3, I'm looking right now.
I think it was Umbreon Stall on Atlas's side and Vaporeon Stall on Adam's side.
Oh my god, okay, that does ring a bell.
The perfect storm. Yep.
That does ring a bell where it was, oh my god, that's gross. Alright, wrapping up here, records. Let's go to NPBL oh, no, sorry, we have damage by game length. We've kind of talked about this ad nauseum, but go ahead.
Yeah, we've basically talked about this, but as we can see, there's a linear correlation between damage and game length, and makes sense.
It does. I mean, if the games are going longer, you're going to have to deal more damage to win them eventually, but how effective are you dealing with it, dealing that damage? All right, I believe this is records. Yay, records. So these are some standouts to us, so go ahead and take this away.
All right, so first we have longest game and shortest game, and we went over this a little bit. The 111 turn game, that is me versus Callie back in Season 8, 111 turns, and I'm kind of surprised it was that long. I mean, we both had some offensive threats on our teams. I had Megalodios and Galarian Darmanitan, but it really came down to a battle between the steel flying types. It was my Skarmory versus the Celesteela. I stalled out 54 PP out of that Celesteela, just flipping Iron Head against it. It was kind of ridiculous.
You guys deserve each other.
We do. And that's where that 111 turn game comes from. And then the 10. The 10 is a fun one. And that was Adam versus Gumi. That was Adam versus Graco in Season 8 as well. And that was, 10 turns. It's ridiculous. And it wasn't a setup sweep. It wasn't anything like that. It was just both playing super hyper offensively. Adam's Tornadus cleaned up with Focus Blast against Graco's team that had a single fighting resist and 3 weak Pokemon.
Oh my god, 10 turns. So that's crazy.
It was insane. And then Next, we have most damage and least damage. That 1612, as we said again, came from the 108 turn Adam versus Atlas game that happened back in Season 3. And then least damage in a game, this is another cool one. This was Adam versus Gumi back in Season 8.
Adam's name
20
keeps
damage.
names keeps popping up here a lot. I'm kind of jealous. I wish I had some records.
He just zooms around. He has longest game, shortest game, whatever.
So anyways,
least damage.
Least damage was a game versus Gumi, you said?
Yeah, that one was pretty insane. It was just a sweep from Nasty Plot Hydreigon. Gumi did like 2% from a U-turn with Chatot, and then 18% with a foul play from Spiritomb, and then the game was over. Alright, and then we have most and least switches. I don't actually have the games for these, but 43 is pretty remarkable. That's a lot, and then 1.
I would guess 1 has to be a forfeit. Maybe we should...
I remember looking at it, and I don't think it was. I think it was a Mega Glade sweep.
I thought you said a death equals a switch, so...
Yeah, a death equals a switch, but not a death for your... So if you just have Mega Glade coming in and then killing all of the opposing Pokemon,
gotcha.
That doesn't count as any switches.
Now I understand.
So I believe that's what it was. I think it was either Adam or Shay, and I don't remember which.
Alright, highest switch percentage game. You have any context for these ones?
75, that's gotta be just... I think that was a Graco game, and he died after like 10 or 11 turns, and so just most of them were switches. And then lowest switch percent in the game, I think that was also the same as the least switches in the game. It was just a 20-turn game where Mega Glade
came in and cleaned. So yeah, guys, just trying to give some context. As we've been collecting data for a long time, and I enjoy collecting and recording things and having it for reference. But just trying to give some context now that we're coming to our 10th season as a league together with our legacy coaches and hopefully our coaches that have joined us that plan on staying for a long time. But like, it's fun to look at these numbers, and we've had such a long in air quotes history here with coming up on 10 seasons that it's kind of fun to look at things in context. So it was a fun little project. I enjoyed doing it, and there was a lot of manual inputting of work. So Ivan was a trooper and really helped me cut this stuff down. Having to go through every single replay of every single game, watching that, recording that data, inputting it, and then coming up with formulas to record it took up a lot of time. So it would have been a very I don't think I ever would have done it by myself. So I appreciated Ivan's help doing it. So yeah, anything that you want to end on here, Ivan? Anything you want to go over regarding either your team since the season 5 cutoff, or things you're interested in looking into the future?
I just want to say that we've done a lot of the heavy lifting already, just compiling all the games into a database. And now that we have a system in which we can do this, if you guys have any ideas for other data that you want us to track, just let us know. And yeah, we could look into it.
That's a great idea. Just trying to come up with clever but measurable ways that we can look at stuff is just fun. Giving context to stuff, giving data to stuff. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There was a game here where after doing all this data analysis, I had a game, and I'm not gonna give away who it was, but like based on looking at all this data that me and Ivan collected, like I actually made some prep decisions based on the data we collected, just because the numbers made sense. Obviously, Pokemon's a very RNG-based game. A lot of intuition goes into it. But just like other sports with like analytics, maybe it could kind of be fun to play around with that aspect in Pokemon. Who knows? It's a fun little thought. We will probably post a public doc with all this data on it, so that if coaches want to reference it, look where you stack up, look where the league averages are. We will probably post this along with this video. It will be included in the description below this video, and then I will post it in the Discord as well. So it won't be actively updated. We'll kind of probably just post that one public facing. Me and Ivan might kind of update it kind of in the background, and then if we ever come out with another stat attack, we'll update that as well. So yeah, I think this is I don't really have anything else to add. Ivan, are you cool signing off for the night?
Yeah, I'm cool.
All right, it's been fun, man. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This has been a stat attack. Excessive, Ivan, Team Stealth Rocks. It's the best move in the game.
I don't know about that one.